My name is Brad Denise, and I am the Hat Collector. So I have many stories to bring you, maybe here in my hat, which I put up on my head, which I keep in my brain. Well, I would like to tell you the story of the Stonecutter. Now, the Stonecutter story starts on a beach by a cliff, where you have the stonecutter slowly chipping out the stone. Working his day away. Every day he worked, he could provide for his family. He had 2 beautiful children, but just barely made enough. And he thought to himself, day after day, it had been so many years, being a stonecutter is not enough. It's just not enough. I would like to have more out of my life. I just get by. I am a stonecutter. I'm pretty good at it. In fact, he was a master at stone cutting. After so many years of stone cutting, who would know? So one day, as he's stone cutting, he hears trumpets from afar ringing out. He wonders, what is that? Then he hears some people screaming in adoration. And then he hears some people singing in admiration. So the stonecutter puts down his hammer and chisel and climbs up to the top of the cliff and just looks over the edge. And he sees a great parade of trumpeters, dancers, and soldiers. And there behind the soldiers was this high official in his robes of gold and red, being held up on a chair by 6 strong men. And as he went through the town, all the people bowed to the high official. He was the most powerful person here. He was the most powerful and adored. And the stonecutter, just looking over the cliff, says, wow, now that is true power. He lacks for nothing, that man. And he turns around and he says to himself, I wish I could be that high official. He's more powerful than anything I've ever seen. And poof, he was the high official. And now he could see the trumpeters and the dancers in front of him as he went through the town. And everybody bowed to him and bowed to him because he was the most powerful man around. And boy, did he feel good eating grapes behind the lions and tigers and elephants and camels that followed him. People would throw flower petals upon him. But as the day grew longer, it grew hotter and hotter and hotter. Soon, even the 6 men who were carrying the high official, the stonecutter, were getting tired and weak, and nobody could move because the sun was beating down so hard on everybody. It was so powerful, it was drying out the fields. And the high official, the stonecutter, saw this. And he says, that sun is powerful. It is so powerful. Even my whole parade is laying on the ground, sweating, not able to move an inch. And he turns to himself and he says, I wish I could be the sun and be more powerful than the high officials of this land. And poof, he's the sun. And there he goes, fiery as ever. He burns all the fields as he comes upon, and all the laborers and farmers curse him. Curse you, sun, for being so powerful. And the Stonecutter, as the sun just laughs and laughs as everything dries out. The riverbeds, the lakes, everything goes fish flopping on the ground. I am the most powerful thing around. But then, that night, a cloud, a long storm cloud comes in. And in the morning, when he wakes up and the sun is there, he starts to fire down upon the land, but there's a cloud in the way. A big, thick, stormy, gray, dark cloud raining upon the valley and the land. And as much as he shone his sun, he could not break the cloud. And he was in awe of the cloud. And he saw that the cloud was more powerful than him, the Stonecutter, as the sun. So, as the sun, the Stonecutter turned away and said, I wish I was that dark storm cloud. And he was the dark storm cloud. And he rained and divided the sun between the land. And he rained over the valleys and flooded the rivers and the lakes. And he rained and rained again until people were up to their necks in water. And then he felt something strange. What is that? He rained harder and harder, but what is that? It was the wind. The wind came along and blew the cloud away. And to the Stonecutter's surprise as the cloud, he thought, I never knew the wind was more powerful than the puffy clouds. So, as he dispersed into tiny little clouds, he came into one little tiny dark storm cloud, the Stonecutter storm cloud. And he turned to himself and he says, I wish I could be more powerful than the storm cloud. I wish I could be the wind. And poof, he was the wind. And he blew the storm cloud away. And he blew over all the roofs of the houses and blew them off the houses. And he was laughing, ha ha ha, I am truly now the most powerful of anything on this land or earth. And he flew, and he pushed, and he wailed, until he could wail no more when he came upon something he could not push forward. He pushed, he blew, and it never moved. It never moved. Unmovable. Unmovable. He did not know what it was. So he turned himself around and he saw that it was a rock. A very large rock. And he says, oh, I wish to be more powerful than the wind. I wish to be a rock. And poof, he became a rock. And there he stood for a year, for 10 years, for 100 years. And then one day, he said, I am definitely the most powerful. Nobody has moved me. Nobody has touched me. I can do whatever I want right here at this rock. It's been 100 years. But then one day, he hears the Stonecutter's hammer and chisel. And he could feel himself changing in form. And he was no longer the big rock that he was. And then he thought to himself, I was the Stonecutter all along. I had everything I needed. I did not need to be more powerful. So then he wished his last wish. I wish none of this ever happened. And poof, there he was, back at the stone. And this time, whistling when he worked. Thank you, guys. Thanks for coming to hear my stories. I love it. I love it. So I'll see you the next time, okay? Have a great day. Bye.